Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Garden with Miss Ann. Today I thought we could talk about plant life cycles and how to use a nature mandala to help us remember the life cycle of plants. So you may be wondering what a mandala is. Mandala is the Sanskrit word for circle. Sanskrit is an ancient language that originated from India. Mandalas are symbols that's used in many Eastern religions and have many different meanings, and it's often used as a representation of the universe. There are lots of ways to create mandalas, but today I'd like us to focus on nature mandalas. Nature mandalas are a great way for us to learn about the plant life cycle, exercise our creativity, and dwell on the beauty of nature. So, let's begin. So, using different stages of a plant life cycle as guidance, we can easily create a nature mandala. Today I'm going to use colored pencils to draw my plant life cycle mandala, but feel free to use any art supplies you'd like. I'm going to draw the life cycle of our state flower, the California poppy, which is currently in bloom right now. First, I like to trace a circle to help guide my drawing. I'm just using a bowl to trace a light circle here. Next, I'm going to draw a seed at the center of the circle, which will represent the first stage of our plant life cycle. Then the seed will begin to go through the next stage, which is called germination. When the seed germinates, it'll sprout and send up a shoot above ground. So the next part I'm going to draw is the little seedling. Mandalas are created through a repeated pattern of images, so I'm going to draw 8 shoots stemming from the seed. From the shoot of the plant, its first set of leaves will begin to emerge. We call these the seed leaves, or if you want to use fancy science terms, the cotyledons. These leaves will help the plant collect energy from the sun and turn the sun's energy into food through a process called photosynthesis. So here I am adding 8 pairs of seed leaves to my mandala. As the plant continues to thrive and grow, it'll begin to mature and grow its next set of leaves, which we call its true leaves. These are called the true leaves because these leaves will usually look very different from the seed leaves and are actually the shape of the leaves of an adult plant. So I'm going to draw the next set of leaves, which will resemble the poppy flower leaves, which you can see is kind of wispy. Our plant will continue to grow and grow, and when it becomes mature, it'll begin to bud. So I'm going to draw 8 buds. The buds will begin to open up and a flower will emerge. And inside the flower is the potential for a seed to develop once the flower is pollinated. So I'll add 2 little seeds to the center to represent the last and first stage of the plant life cycle, which is the seed. So now we have our completed nature mandala, which we were able to make by illustrating the plant life cycle in a repeated circular pattern. Another way to create a nature mandala is by using things you foraged. The next time you go on your daily nature walk, collect items you find on the ground to use for your mandala. There's usually plenty of materials for us to gather from the ground, so try to collect items that have already fallen before trying to harvest from a living plant. Here I am collecting items from one of my neighborhood walks. So let's take a look at some of the things I found. I gathered some leaves that I thought I could use. I also found some branches, and I also collected some pine needles and some pine cones. I also gathered a few rocks. Okay, so time to start building my life cycle nature mandala. Today I'm going to try to represent the life cycle of a pine tree since a lot of the materials I collected came from pine trees that line my neighborhood. I'm going to put a tiny pine cone in the center of my mandala. Since pine cones contain the seeds of a pine tree, I'll use it to represent a seed. Then I'm going to have twigs stemming from the center to represent the beginning stages of the tree's growth. I'm also going to add leaves to represent the sprouting stage of the plant. Next, I'm going to use branches that I found to represent the tree growing bigger and stronger. Then I'm going to have pine needles stem from the branches to represent the adult stage of the pine tree. Finally, I'm going to add pine cones to finish my mandala because when the tree is mature enough, it'll produce pine cones to begin its process of reproduction and thus completing the life cycle. Nature mandalas are a fun way to practice learning the plant life cycle, but they're also just a fun way to express your creativity. Feel free to play around with whatever materials you find to create a mandala you like. Here I am creating one with some materials I found in my backyard. So now that you've seen different ways of creating a nature mandala, it's your turn to make one. Remember to take a picture of your finished creation and share it with us online. Let's see how many different nature mandalas we can create as a class.